Welcome back. The guests on today's show are Dr. Susan Murray, Clear Path Leadership, that does sound clear, and Deborah Youden, who is an export consultant with NLOWE. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining me is Deborah Youden, who is an export consultant with NLOWE, and we're going to learn all about that side of business. Deb, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kathryn. It's lovely to be here.
Well, I have been working with you in the past on the exporting, and I found it really intriguing. But one of the first things that I thought about when it was first mentioned to me was exporting. How does that apply to me as a businesswoman? And I'm going to let you just take it from there.
Okay. Well, lots of people think that exporting is only sending products outside the country. But in essence, exporting is a lot more than that. First of all, exporting, businesses can export products and services. So if you're a consultant or a graphic designer, you can export your services as well. And exporting doesn't just mean sending something outside the country. It's all about where the money comes from. So anytime that there is new money, or international dollars, in a sense, coming into the province, that's considered exporting because it's new money into the country. So, for example, if you're a tourism operator offering adventure tours and your customers are from Europe, they're coming here, they're paying for the experience, that's new money, that's it, you're an exporter. So you don't always have to be sending something out. Sometimes people come in to buy things, or you may have your, you may actually travel outside yourself. For example, if you're presenting at a conference in the US, that would be considered exporting because they have invited you there, they're paying you to present, and of course you're bringing that money back to Canada. So that's exporting as well. So there are many different modes of exporting, and you can do it with products and services. So as a result, it's suddenly, whoa, there's a lot of opportunity out there to diversify your markets.
Yes, and which is why I'm sure NLOWE have you there to take the hands of businesses who are ready to look at these steps. And it's surprising, I know when we first had spoken about it, many times you're not thinking that way. Your first step is, oh, am I right for NLOWE? And then it's, oh, so now I'm possibly right for exporting. And so with some of the things you do, for example, one-on-one consulting.
Well, yes, NLOWE with me, we offer one-on-one consulting. I often work closely with the business advisors as well, both the growth advisors and the startup advisors, because they provide different aspects of business startup and business growth than I do. So I come in and kind of complement that part. So as a result, you start to build a team around you for your business development. So the one-on-one or the team sort of approach with businesses, we're available for that. And we also have a couple of programs that we operate. One is Passport for Growth, which is a monthly hour-long program that basically talks about aspects of international trade. So we have a lot of different topics. We have some speakers. Sometimes I do a session related to it, but something about international trade and or overall business development. And the other program that we offer periodically is a more extensive program, but it's basically an export. It talks about export and getting ready to export and identifying some of the things that you need to do. And that's the program called Gateway to Trade. It runs over 8 weeks and it's 2 hours a week. And the whole premise of the program is that you develop an export plan. So it takes you through the process of the topics related to an export plan. And really an export plan is not much different than a business plan, except you have, in the market section, you have identified international markets. And we make it even easier for businesses to go through this process because we use an export plan template. So it really sort of lays everything out, and it's, it's not a 50-page document or anything. It's actually very simple. And what we found in the program is that businesses who, might have considered exporting, didn't really know for sure if they were interested, at least now have the basis to say, okay, if I get offered an opportunity here, I know the questions to ask. I know where to get the information. I know if I don't know something, I can call Deb. So, there's that piece there. And for other businesses, what they've identified through the process of this is, okay, now I can focus in a little bit on where I see the opportunities for my business to grow. I may not be ready for the international market or any aspect of it right now, but I know where I'm going. I can, focus here and further develop my business. And of course, the whole premise of any of these programs is for business growth. I mean, we just want to see women-owned businesses grow and develop and have opportunities.
Absolutely, and NLOWE does an incredible job of providing these supports. I'm so glad that we have this opportunity to reach more people through this program to let them know that the benefits. I'm wondering, when you deal with them first, when they're looking at exporting, what's the most common questions you receive from a potential, I'm going to say, client?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like to think of exporting as a continuum. And it's a process. So one of the first one of the first steps, I suppose, is the export curious conversation. So, we'll talk about where their business is right now, what their products or services are. Are there some things that they like to do a little bit more than others? Because a lot of times in Newfoundland and Labrador, women business owners have a variety of offerings. Well, if you're considering growing your business, you don't always have to offer everything that you do. You can kind of hone in on the specialty areas that you really are good at, you really like, and develop it there if you're going to larger markets. So we start with the export curious conversation. Then we'll sort of dive a little deeper into, okay, where is your business now? What might you need? So we do kind of an export diagnostic. It's not very painful, it's actually fairly simple, and it really just identifies where you are in the process of your business development. And then we'll go into, the export readiness, in other words, getting you ready for that. So that's where you might want to look at, for example, the Gateway to Trade program, is to see where you are with things. And then further, the export development, the export activity, and then you're exporting. So when you look at the exporting part, you might want to consider some of the trade missions that we do.
That's what I was going to bring up next. Thank you very much.
We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And so, there are businesses that go on trade missions, and those are organized by either NLOWE or another organization or government, and they're often nicely supported. It's one of the ways that the Canadian government, through many different agencies and arms, actually support women-owned businesses to provide them with the opportunities to go somewhere else. So, for example, NLOWE over the last number of years has been going to a boutique-style conference in the U.S. In Florida called Go for the Greens. Yes, you've experienced it.
I have.
And it's a real opportunity to meet other business owners, to meet some of the corporations, and to actually touch and feel and smell what it's like to be in another market and possibly doing business there. Because, as much as you read about things, it's never quite the same as when you get there and you actually experience it. So, for example, that event is organized by the Trade Commissioner Service in Canada, and they have representatives in Florida as well. So between them, they put together a delegation, and NLOWE kind of feeds into that. So right away, you get to meet a lot of other women-owned businesses from Canada who that may provide other opportunities. Those are kind of what I like to call the soft exports when you're going to another province. But then it also gets the women business owners into an environment where there are possibilities of doing business outside the country.
Absolutely.
And what they need to do there. So that's one example that we have. There are a few events within Canada that we participate, and sometimes there are international representatives there. So again, there's an opportunity for connecting across the country, but also internationally. And periodically, there have been events, opportunities in Europe with organizations, with delegations that go there. And of course, you know, you don't have to go it alone. That's why there are so many organizations and arms of government that are there to support you. And you're never too small to export. So don't think that because you're a solopreneur or anything that you don't have any opportunities, because there are many, many opportunities out there, and you're never too small to participate.
Well, you know, Deborah, I know why you do what you do, because you certainly do simplify it and make it sound wonderful. And I will say, having partaken in Go for the Greens, the support that we had in advance, there was a lot of preparation, opportunities to learn how we would speak to people, what we would say. We didn't just go in there green.
No.
And that kind of support, I think, is throughout NLOWE. And I want to thank you for explaining this and making it so simple. And you mentioned partnerships. I partnered up with Olivia Crane Pinot now,
Yeah.
and she worked in social media and so on. So we bonded very much through that experience of the exporting. So
Yeah.
it's all there. It's true what she says. And thank you so much for saying it and for being a guest.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much, Kathryn.
Now don't go away. If you enjoyed this on exporting, we have more good information to follow. Welcome back. My guest for this segment is Dr. Susan Murray of Clear Path Leadership, and we're about to find out what that means. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Kathryn. So
Hi.
lovely to see you again.
Oh, lovely to see you. The last time I saw you was in Grand Falls, Windsor, and you were at the front of the room delivering a wonderful workshop called Bold Steps. And I think let's start there. Tell me about your workshops in Clear Path and Bold Steps.
Well, it's been a joy working with NLOWE over the past year on Bold Steps. It's foundational to my work with leaders, with organizations, with teams. It's about positioning yourself to do something different, knowing who you are, knowing where you want to go, and the steps that you need to take there.
And it's interesting, you have done the workshops in several locations across the province.
I have,
Yeah.
from Labrador to Clark's Beach, Grand Falls, Windsor, of course, Corner Brook. Recently, a smaller workshop in Placentia, and looking forward to another session in Clarenville later in the spring.
I love that NLOWE is bringing this material to women. We were virtual for so long, but to get back, and honestly, when you're at the front of the room, you command the room.
Oh, thank you.
You're so good, and I want to let you know at that workshop you gave us a little red piece of rope.
I did.
Yeah, it sits by my computer to remind me that's the little part of me that
Those red threads.
Yes.
You know, that finding the love in what we do.
Yeah.
And those red thread moments that we can weave into our day and into our week to recognize our strengths, to build on what we love, can really make a difference in our lives, both at work and at home.
I loved that message, and I think women need to hear that message more, to remember, and that was why I kept why I keep that
I'm
piece.
glad to hear that. Thank
No,
you.
I keep it right in front of me to remind me, what are my bold steps today? What am I going to do that makes my heart sing, such as what I'm doing right now? Okay, so you initiated that in me and other women across the province. So
Thank you.
You are an educator, you are a leader. Tell me about your work through Clear Path.
So since 2015 actually, when I left my previous role as a senior leader in the school district, I started my company back then to work locally, nationally, and globally with all kinds of organizations and people on leadership development, and strategy. Locally, obviously, everyone knows the Bold Steps. I heard the Premier use it in his speech yesterday, so that was a lovely, a red thread moment for me. working with them on finding their strengths, coaching others to be their best selves. At MUN, I'm an adjunct professor with the Faculty of Education, and I teach graduate studies in leadership and policy. I also work with the Gardner Center in leadership courses there, and nationally with many organizations on leadership development.
Well, as you're in this role, what are some of the things that you commonly hear from women? I'm saying women. I know men have these.
I
but
know, you saw my pause.
Yeah, we're focusing on
women in particular
here today.
We hear things like, am I ready for this? What do I need to do next? And I just left Jackie McCann Scott's session on financial planning. Wow. What steps do I need to take to be ready to launch my business, to do something different, to lead an organization? So the financial planning piece is always a wise move. What are my strengths? What am I bringing? What am I worth? And knowing your worth, knowing what you can charge, the mechanics of running a business, but also being able to position yourself in different spaces and places. We often hear the term imposter syndrome, and I kind of shudder with that a little, because it's not just women that have that. We won't get into the research behind it, but I think everyone has that hesitation, that sense of, am I supposed to be here? Do I fit? I don't belong when we go into a new space or to a new room or into a new organization. And so it's helping others develop their confidence and competence to own that space, to know their worth, and to really bring their best selves to work every day.
And I mentioned this in one of the earlier shows. It came up as a topic that in this case, women, many times we hear it, well, I feel why am I here? Or should I join NLOWE? My company is not big enough, or I haven't done enough. When I do this, I'll join. And that's the whole backward message, because NLOWE is there to raise you up. People like you are there to raise us up and to help us discover our red threads. But women still stumble over this block, even today, and I feel it sometimes too.
We do. I mean, I did a new course a few weeks ago as a participant, and I walked in going, am I supposed to be here? And so, I threw my shoulders back. I tossed my hair and said, no, I've made this choice, and I'm going to make sure that I fit. Sometimes we think it's a degree or a new course. Those courses get you into the ball, I like to say, but it's your confidence that gets you on the dance floor. And so learning not to be, though I know I use the word bold, but learning to find how you best can walk into a room, how you can show your strengths and really present yourselves as deserving to be there. I remember when I first joined NLOWE back in 2015, 2016, I had just left the education sector, the public education sector. And I was like, why? I'm not a business owner. I don't belong there. But I quickly discovered the power of NLOWE, and surrounding yourself with brilliant minds and support, and saying it's okay not to know something. Jackie McCann Scott just said we all have strengths and weaknesses. Knowing our strengths and knowing that the supports are there to help us grow our business, to grow our confidence as leaders, to make those differences, has been my biggest learning from NLOWE. I mean, I know I've been presenting for them, but I'm also learning with them and learning from others, particularly at conferences like this.
Yeah, well, you're so modest because you teach us a lot, and then but I think the great teachers always learning.
No.
And and that's, education is in your soul and your
it is blood. In my soul.
Yes. When I say a phrase like, we've all heard it, fake it till you make it, how do you respond to that? How do you think that works?
You saw me flick my hair.
Again, I'm watching for the hair flicks.
That sometimes I've been in really different spaces over the past 10 years with my business. I'm from rural Newfoundland, and I work with the government of some very large countries around the world. And you know, I walk in there and I often say, Sue, you're not in Placentia now. But I'm confident in what I know, but I present myself as a learner. I go in and say, these are people. We all know how to get along with people. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when we go to a new space, when we start a new job, when we start to take a bold step to do something different. But just grounding yourself in who you are and what brought you to make that decision in the first place.
And I think we have more resources than we recognize as women, and we need to take these bold steps and remember that it's there. And NLOWE, of course, is an amazing organization to hold our hands and to just bring us forward, and I've experienced that as well. Before we sat down, I was speaking with Deborah Youden, and we were talking about exporting. And I know you have exported.
I do.
I wanted to ask you about that. Tell me about your exporting experiences.
Well, I have been working in countries like the United Arab Emirates, China, Vietnam, globally across the Caribbean, many different places and spaces with my work. I guess I am the export, and the knowledge that I have is what I export to. So how do I end up there is often the question I get. It's saying yes. It's looking at new possibilities and taking that risk, being open to change, being open to other cultures and people, and knowing that you don't go in knowing it all, but presenting as a learner, presenting as a colleague, really makes that difference for me when I go to new places.
And one of the things that when I took the exporting course through NLOWE and through Deborah, they talked a lot about local culture and things that you have to expect to be aware of. How did you make that transition? You've gone to some very different places.
And the culture shock that I experience in all of these places is real. I remember landing in Beijing many years ago and feeling very overwhelmed, but I had done my homework. And I had consulted with friends who are from that culture, and so tell me more. What is it I need to know to be the friendly person when I go into these organizations? So learning the manners of the country, learning as a Western woman how I need to stand, how I need to, not stand, but how I need to engage with others respectfully. Often as Westerners, we are brought in for our expertise, but it's that learning that we can make happen together is when the best work happens. And so I do my homework before I go places, but more importantly, I ask questions. I learn from the people there. It's okay. We tell everyone it's when we make mistakes that we learn the most, and that's where some of my best learning has happened too.
Yeah, well, it's good to know that we're not alone in that. Your advice is always so good, and for women who are watching, I'm sure they'll take it to heart. And I just want to thank you so much for taking a few moments. And I think we've done remarkably well because we can feel the exuberance here.
I'm loving the exuberance.
The exuberance, and you and I have managed to maintain our composure through it and get our message to everyone. But thank you so much.
Thank you again,
Thank you,
and lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you. And folks, we hope you have enjoyed this show. It's been amazing. I'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you took some tips away to take forward with your business and to maybe make you think beyond the borders of our province. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.